This is an honest review of the Insta360 One RS 1-inch 360 edition. First, an executive summary. This is a 360 camera with two BSI CMOS 1-inch sensors. The three key features are number 1, 6K video. Number 2, it's modular and backward compatible with the Insta360 One RS and, in the future, the Insta360 One R as well. Third, it's much more affordable than the Theta Z1. Should you buy it? If you are a casual user or you're just getting into 360 and you're just looking for a 360 camera that is quote good enough, then I think you don't need the 1-inch 360. But if you want a 360 camera with the best overall image quality, especially for video, and the most complete package, then the 1-inch 360 is the camera that I would recommend to a friend or family member as long as they can afford it. But it's not perfect and you need to know its strengths and limitations. First, let's talk about the headline feature, the sensors. The 1-inch 360 uses two 1-inch sensors. A 1-inch sensor is about 4 times larger than a typical 1/2.3-inch sensor used in consumer 360 cameras such as the Insta360 One R. It's a little more than half the size of a Micro Four Thirds sensor, and because the 1-inch 360 has two of these sensors, then the total size of its sensors is actually a bit larger than a Micro Four Thirds sensor. So the 1-inch 360 is very impressive on paper, but what really matters is the image quality. How is it? Well, let's start with video. The 1-inch 360's video resolution is 6.1K if you shoot at 24 FPS and 5.9K if you shoot at 30 FPS. In the middle part of the lens, it's only a little bit sharper than the GoPro Max. But as you move to the stitch line, the 1-inch 360's video quality becomes much more noticeable. Now, how important is this sharpness along the stitch line?
See, in the real world, most people don't use a 360 camera on a tripod. They use a selfie stick. I brought a tripod and a ball head, and I'm going to attach the selfie stick to it at an angle that would be kind of similar to the way most people use their 360 cameras. Then we can see what the resolution difference is like from that angle.
Now, I also compared the cameras in low light, and the 1-inch 360 had the best detail and least amount of noise compared to the other cameras. It's definitely the best low light camera I've seen so far. Now, in terms of audio quality, the in-camera microphone is better than the Insta360 One R. I don't hear any noises when I touch the bracket, but the sound is still a bit muffled.
Oh yeah!
Fortunately, the 1-inch 360 does have an invisible microphone option. All you need is the new version of the 𝐥𝐤𝐤 the new Insta360 microphone adapter, and a Rode Wireless Go or similar microphone.
Alright, so there's a flight of stairs here. I'm gonna try to ride down the stairs. Now, last week I was trying to practice this, like from somewhere there, and at first was going okay, but then at one point I lost my balance and I landed on the like an awkward angle with my leg and kind of twisted my leg. That's why I have this knee brace here. Anyway, let's try it.
How about the photo quality? The 1-inch 360 can shoot a RAW plus JPEG HDR bracket of up to 9 shots up to 1 EV apart. It will stitch and merge the exposures together using Insta360 software. No third-party software needed. It will also give you the option to export individual exposures that are stitched identically, so you can merge them in your own HDR software if you wish. Now for detail, the Theta Z1 is a little bit more detailed toward the middle of the lens, while the 1-inch 360 is more detailed toward the stitch line. So I'd say for detail, it's a wash. The 1-inch 360 also has less fringing than the Theta Z1. On the other hand, the advantage of the Theta Z1 for photos is that its aperture can be stopped down to f5.6 and its shutter goes as high as 1/25,000. By comparison, the 1-inch 360's aperture is fixed at f2.2 and its fastest shutter is 1/8,000. So this means that the Theta Z1 can capture brighter highlights than the 1-inch 360. But the 1-inch 360 may have ND filters in the future that can mitigate this Theta Z1 advantage. Now what about endurance? I tested the 1-inch 360 indoors with no air conditioning and it was able to record around 62 minutes, which was broken into two 31-minute files. There was no fogging, no blur, and no drifting. The 1-inch 360 can also record while charging, and it can even record without the battery if it is powered via USB. Now how about ruggedness? The 1-inch 360 is not waterproof, but it is water resistant. I tested it under a shower and it survived. It still turns on. So the 1-inch 360's lenses can get scratched just like other 360 cameras. Now, Insta360 showed me a prototype of a removable lens protector like the GoPro Max, but it will not be ready at launch. Now the 1-inch 360 does have a few other weaknesses. First, it's not great for slow-mo. It can shoot at 50 FPS but only at 3K resolution. So if you want to do slow-mo, this is not the best camera for that. Second, it's also a bit heavy. If you're using it on a long selfie stick, you're going to start to feel the strain on your wrist after a while. Third, the memory card is also a bit inconvenient to access. I usually end up transferring the files via USB cable. Now, one very significant and unique advantage is that the 1-inch 360 is upgradable. The 1-inch 360 can use the One RS core, and in the future it will also be backward compatible with the One R core after a firmware update. So what does this mean? Well, when Insta360 released the One R in 2020, no one knew if the One R would be just a one-off camera or if it would be truly upgradable. Now since then, Insta360 has kept releasing updates for it, including the new RS core with faster processor, the 4K boost mod with 6K video, and now this 1-inch 360 edition. So these releases show that the 1R and 1RS are truly upgradable like a DSLR. When you buy a new camera body, you can continue to use the old lenses. And if you buy new lenses, you can continue to use them on older bodies. For me, that's what makes the Insta360 1RS 1-inch 360 edition a compelling option compared to other cameras. Your gear can't remain the best forever because technology is always advancing. But with the Insta360 1R and 1RS, your investment can be upgraded and can last longer. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in 360.